Let's inspire some people, all right?
Okay,
All
let's
right,
do it.
here we go. Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, comedy on Power Talk. Thank you so much for making us part of your day today. And without further ado, it is an honor to talk to somebody who understood from an early age that she was not of this planet, that she went into the intergalactic, and she found out about it really early. I only got hip to it in the last 10 years when I, finally just opened my heart and surrendered and found my purpose. But she's been dwelling in the cosmos for a long time. And she continues to inspire, and it's probably very difficult in this time when she goes to different places in the world that she is now restricted in some way from being able to access those people that need healing. Marga, Parvati, Samadhi, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jake.
Marga, did you experience any trauma in your early life?
The earliest trauma that I can think of was when my parents got divorced, and that was around my seventh year. And that would be the only trauma that I can remember from an early age. Of course, there has been more trauma later on in the track, but for early on now, the divorce of my parents, the separation, leaving from France and moving to America at 3 years old, kind of, I guess, created trauma within my body. From moving from a small little town to a huge one on the other side of the globe. But that can be seen as a trauma. Everything that is sort of a change creates trauma within the body, for sure.
I mean, I think that it's more like, when were you, more and more of the spiritual people that I talk to, the people that come to my program and are able to inspire other people, all had some kind of reckoning in some way. I guess, at 8 years old, when did you first feel that you could transcend your physical body?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I guess it was never really in my awareness, but it was still present. I always was connecting to the elements, connecting with the wind, connecting with the trees, connecting with the earth, with the sun, the clouds, and I would always connect and communicate with those beings, those beautiful white beings. And by that, I guess my awareness was already there. I knew I wasn't just a body. I knew I was already beyond, like you touched base on an 8-year-old time frame. That is when I received my first activation, and that is when I actually got contacted beyond this physical reality by light beings from another dimension. And I guess that started to hit my awareness that, okay, I'm not the only one. Okay, I'm not the only one on this entire planet and this entire universe that can access different dimension and have a different awareness. And especially growing up in France, it can be very close-minded when we talk about spirituality. It's very religious. And so when I grew up and I had all those amazing gifts, I found out so many times that I needed to shush myself just because we didn't want to bother the neighbors. We didn't want the neighbors to know that we had a crazy child in the house in some way,
I mean, but you were like completely, you had already connected your mind and your body, and you were already a spirit at that point.
Yeah.
And
Totally, yeah.
but I mean, this is revelatory that France is a very monolithic religious area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I guess when you had these multisensory experiences as an 8-year-old girl, the wind, the breeze, the sound, was it always, did you ever deal with a ruminating like mind, or were you able to just drop immediately into the soul? I mean, was this something that it was like totally accessing your multidimensional self without? Because I mean, here's an example an analogy. It's like on the bandstand in music. If you're playing transcendent or spiritual music and you're going to improvise and you're going to play something unscripted and everybody in the band's feeling it, you either can get in your head and drown in paranoia or just ride that wave and just open your ears and listen. Listening is the most important thing. So when you started to realize that, I guess with the stuff that wasn't visible, not the light beings per se, but the multisensory stuff. I mean, did you like go back to, oh wait, this is I'm supposed to be a different one. I'm supposed to be straight and square like my parents and everybody else wants me to?
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely my mind went there many times, especially growing up. After 8 years old, that's when I started really growing my gifts, and it was not accepted. It was not, I was seen as the different, and I would speak this imaginary language, and I had to stop speaking my imaginary language. I needed to become more mature. So yes, my mind after 8, I would say around from 8, 9 till 14 perhaps, I kind of lost sense of my gift. I didn't believe in them anymore. They were still there, and the awareness, the consciousness of my being was still present, but the mind started to take over control of the story and make me believe that I was imagining all of this. But there was always a part of myself that was connected. My heart was always connected, and I always had such an easy process to drop into the soul. I always talked inside my head since I was a child, and I was like, who's talking? Who's this body? Is there anybody here listening to me? And I also, I could hear thoughts from other people from a very young age, and so I would still work with my gift, but I would do it secretly. And I guess I was very, very aware from the early on child. Even when I was 3 years old, I was already meditating, and didn't know what meditation was at that time, but I was still doing it, and speaking different languages, and
right. No, this is
wait. I mean, animals.
What do you mean hearing people's thoughts?
Well, just connecting with, bringing my awareness to someone's awareness, and hearing. It could not be really with words. It's just how to explain with human words. You actually just connect your awareness into somebody else's awareness, and then you receive the transmission that they're receiving in their mind. And from that, it creates a feeling or a sensation throughout your body, which translate into words or a kind of psychic abilities to tune into the thought of the other, for sure.
That's right. Psychic. That's the right word to use. Psychic ability. Yes. So. This is profound. What was the moment when you didn't look back at what was that catalyst that at 14 or so when you started to say, no, I'm going to take the insecure path. I'm going to be who I am, and I'm not going to stay in my mind. I mean, was there some kind of definitive thing where you never look back?
It's a great question. I think it was just way too strong. Every time I would tell myself, okay, I'm not using my gifts anymore, they would come, and I would be contacted by someone or a spirit, or just, it was way too strong not to look at it. And it's like someone's dancing in front of you and trying to make you laugh, and you're in a mood, and you're like, I'm not going to laugh. And this person is like a clown, is making a lot of funny faces. At some point, you're going to laugh. And that's kind of what happens when you have psychic abilities and spiritual gifts. You might avoid it, as you can really try to avoid it, but it's never going to go away. So I think I realized, okay, I might not share it with the world for yet, but I'm going to continue to work with them at least. And I started to work with hypnotherapy and mostly hypnotizing people, friends, and animals. And I started working a lot in past life recollection and future recollection, and just tuning into the Akashic record of this world. And I think it was when I was 14, I read this book, Siddhartha, which is the story of the Buddha. And when I was reading the book, I was telling myself, I am this person. You know, I knew deep inside a part of my soul was that soul too. And by reading the story of somebody else, and I was reading the book and like, I know this, I've been there. And so I was able to assure myself, okay, again, you're not the only one. You know, those people were different as well, and they continue on with their life. And that's kind of when I wanted to become more, you know, more inspiring in my ways. But it's not at 14 when I truly let go of my mind. For sure, my mind was still there. And you know, you're 14, you're in high school. You know, kids pick on you all the time. But I knew it was a game I was playing, and I think that's really when I started to accept myself more, for sure.
You know, a good friend of mine is amazing musician, John Mclaughlin. He saw he went to play for the Dalai Lama, and he received his blessing. And then afterwards, the Dalai Lama said, you know, he's like, most people think my religion is Buddhism. He said, wrong. My religion is happiness. And I ask you, you give so much. You're a giver. Are you a very happy person?
You're asking me?
Yes, because because with people like you that are so often in, you're needed so much. You're called on to access your gifts and give to other people, and it doesn't leave you time to be vulnerable, give you time for yourself. So I mean, that's my most important thing for Marga is that you are happy.
I'm the most happy I've ever been my entire life.
That is
I
so
want to
beautiful.
answer this question by saying, if my entire life's desire has always been to help and to be in service, and that I can finally step forward and truly be in service through my breath, through my intentions, through my movements and my thoughts, then everything that I do is my true happiness. The key there, when people ask me, but because I always say I'm in service. I always say I'm in service. Whatever you want, I'll be here. I'll give you whatever you need. I'm only in service. I vowed to myself in 2015 to be truly in service. And people are like, but you still have your desires. You can't always be in service. And I say, well, if my desire is to be in service, then if I am in service, my desire is met. Then I am actually gifting myself my own desire.
Exactly.
So I can only be happy because I am doing what my heart truly desires to be doing. And there's nothing else in the whole world that I'd rather do than just, first of all, just be me. Beyond even what it is that I do, because what I do, so many other people do. We all have this capacity, and I'm only here to awaken everybody's capacity. I am truly myself through all my gifts and through all my layers and my multidimensional self. Then I can only inspire others to do that, and that is my truest happiness, because the other is myself as well.
So, yeah, no, I mean, yeah. Obviously you. Like, did you ever deal with your ego, in the sense of like you recognize that you were seeing light beings and other light force, I mean, like you kind of knew that it was not in your control. And like I noticed that people that, when they take full responsibility for something that they only were partially responsible for, I guess maybe if you could give an example of when you were a conduit for the gifts you had coming from the heavens.
Like giving you an example of
like when you realized that this was so far beyond just you, that you were merely a conduit for your gifts, that in some healing capacity, in some kind of phenomena, miracle.
Yeah. When I was in Australia in 2015, I started truly working deeply with meditation and meditated countless of hours during a day, mostly during my night because I was sleepless. And I started being taught by this beautiful mother, light being figure, Arcturian figure, and I wasn't in control of what she was doing to me. I was in control of what she was telling me. I was in control of what she was showing me, and I was only a servant. And that was a humbling experience when I had to truly let go of course I knew that I could control anything, but I was humble enough to let that go so I could be receiving, so I could be a student again. And I think she was the one teaching me humility is we are God. Yes, we are. We're all one piece of that God. God is whatever you want it to be, source, universe, light, chi, prana. And you can only be a channel for God if you let go of the control of yourself. If you truly relax within your entire being and allow this light, this energy to move through you, and it's beyond even the mind can comprehend, and that is humbling right there. Is I can't take for granted what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is just everything else too, and it's beyond even my ability to do. And
what did you learn from your light mother?
oh wow. Well, the teachings that I teach right now, and they're growing, the gifts are growing, and it's mostly working with light, sacred geometry, and sound. And she taught me how to access the matrix. She taught me how to see what this reality looks like from pathways and electrical circuits. She taught me how to access light source, the purest light source, and calling it in or pulling it in into an object or an area of the body. She taught me different sounds. So from her, I would have very, very intense sounds into my ears for a long period of times, and she would tune me to different frequencies like 528 or 432 or 126. And I tuned my ear to those kind of sounds to understand what they do and how they move things within me, within my body, within my cellular level, within my vibrational level. She taught me all the work that I do now, but at the same time, she didn't really teach me per se. She just reminded me what I knew, because we're all coming from those stars. We're all coming from higher dimensions, and especially us light workers awaken and truly fully in our mission to awaken this reality, to awaken our brothers and sisters. We have those abilities, and they're stored in our DNA. And so what she was doing is she cleared my body's DNA and kind of cleared all the muck, and she scanned me over and over with light. And I could see the machines she would use. The only thing I could do is just not move and just be there. So that's mostly what she taught me is light frequency, sound frequency, and how to merge the two, and access the higher shapes and forms of sacred geometry, which is the merging of the two.
These sounds, can you just like try to emulate them the way that they'd be in your ears for days?
Like with my voice?
Yeah.
There is some sounds I can do with my voice.
Yes.
Well, like and that is a complete recentering of the body.
Oh my God! That would just be going on. That's so beautiful. Was it just your voice and breath there? That's unbelievable.
Mhm. Yeah.
So but Marga, this is, it's so amazing to hear all this. I just want you to can you tell me about a specific time when you went and and use these gifts to affect positive change. I mean, you're talking about like in a very humble way, like, I just wonder, like, if with this kind of matrix, you've been able to figure out this matrix. I mean, for me, like, I'm still kind of shrouded. You have this beautiful word where your karma, you came to terms with your karma, and I'm going to screw it up. I'll have to find it. But, I mean, when did you truly go and impact a community somewhere around the world with your gifts?
Well, I left France in 2012 and I started traveling around. I lived in New York first, but to be honest, in New York, I was still learning my capacity. It's only once I left New York, I moved to South Africa and I started working with wildlife conservation programs and protection programs of wild animals, and working with the children, working with the schools, and teaching them the properties of nature and how to support our nature and protect our nature and our animals. So I started working with many volunteering programs in South Africa, and I wanted to become a journalist. And beyond even all the capacities that I have, spiritual gifts and psychic abilities, I wanted to have a concrete way that the world could see how we impact, and through this journalism and documentarian that I was part of, I was teaching yoga, breath work, and moving on to just traveling in so many different places. The thing that I realize is when we are light, it doesn't matter really what we do. Because our body is a portal, our body is a pillar in the grid of the matrix. And so wherever you are going, your body is emanating light through the grid of the matrix of the place. And so that's why a lot of light workers and healers are traveling around the world, because we are asked by our mother to travel the world so our bodies can be receptors for the greater matrix grid of the collective. And so wherever we are, we impact the society, we impact the community, depending, of where we find ourselves in the world. And I think mostly when I was living in my van and I traveled from California down to Costa Rica and on my way through Mexico and staying on the beach and just serving from that, giving my healing gifts, my teaching, and truly embodying sound healing, and just being in service, putting a board on my van and just saying, I offer sound and energy healing, and whomever wants to come, and people just come. It's not about, you're a teacher, you're not going to go in the streets and call in your students. You wait until your students come, and that's mostly what I am. Is yes, I put myself out there, but I'm still there, and whomever needs me will find me. The work that I do here in Sedona is really anchored now. I've been here for almost 2 years, and having a space that is my frequency, and when people come here in my studio, their body changes automatically, their energy changes automatically, because they just enter my frequency. As I work very, very hard every day to keep my body pure and clear, my mind pure and clear, then I can only be a channel for light. And So that's it. Just traveling around the world when Mother is asking me to go somewhere and bring my gifts there. And, since I've incorporated this light work that she taught me in Australia, I've seen miracles. I've seen miracles that I never thought was possible.
Can you give an example?
And, well, there's an example of a dear of mine. He was in the coma for 43 days, and his wife called me out of the blue, and she didn't really know me actually, but I was working with him as his yoga teacher and Reiki healer for a while in Los Angeles, and she called me out of the blue. I was traveling from Costa Rica to India, and I was actually passing through LA right when I received her call, and she said, I don't know why your name came through. I don't even know you, but I know you're the only person that can bring Eric back. And so By the time I received her phone call, I next morning she picked me up and we went to the hospital, and I did a very deep work that I've never done before. I've never brought a soul back in a body. I've never really done this in this reality, and I just knew how to. And if I can explain it, it's really like putting a hand in a glove and making sure every single part of your hand is in the glove. And sometimes a little pinky is stuck, and and making sure that every single part of that soul that is spread in the entire universe is back in the body. And it's challenging because sometimes there's parts that are not going to come back. And so that same day he awoke for the first time, and I worked with him for 3 weeks in a row, and after 3 weeks they were able to bring him back home, and now it's been over 2 years, and he's recovering slowly, but he's recovering. And that was one of the miracles I can talk about, is how to bring someone from the coma back to this reality. And it doesn't say that there's no circumstances. You do lose parts of yourself, He doesn't have the full ability of his body yet, but he's there. He's present. He's awake. He talks.
I just want to be clear, because you just blew my mind. I just want to be clear about this. You were in Costa Rica on your way to India, and a former person you worked with, his wife called. They were living in Costa Rica?
No, they were in LA, in Los Angeles. My plane was passing through LA to do my Indian visa.
Okay, so
I was on my way to LA.
You got off in LA and went to see him.
I went off to LA, turned my phone on. She had just left me a message. I called her back. By the time I was on the phone with her, I could hear this other person, her husband, just reaching out from the heavens. And so the next morning, she picked me up. We went to the hospital, and then for some reason my visa just got delayed. I don't know if you've ever been to India, but it can take a while for your visa to come. And I was planning on leaving the next 3 days, and I actually had to stay for almost a month. And there's a reason why. I was supposed to be there to bring my friend back.
So it was essentially a month of spiritual raising frequencies by you, and after a month is when he regained consciousness.
No. He regained consciousness the first day when I went to the hospital.
The first day you went to the hospital. The first day Marga goes to the hospital. And how long was he in the coma for?
43 days.
This is the Matrix.
Everything is possible with light. And that's what we're awakening to. We're understanding.
Are we though? Are we really?
Capacity.
I mean, you think as a society, you really think as human animals we are evolved? I mean, what you're talking about is in the intergalactic, and most people don't want to face their fears, so they will never really truly be themselves, and probably never find their purpose in life. So I mean, to speak in, I guess I'm just saying. I mean, you are so tapped in to a certain frequency. But I really wonder collectively as human animals, the way we treat each other, I don't know if I agree with that.
Well,
and I have two beautiful daughters that have to grow up in this world. I'll tell you, they are light beings. So I do actually, maybe I go back a little bit. Maybe I agree with you a little more. But I just think collectively, anyway, that's not really an important part of the conversation. Do you have you been involved with Sufis at all?
Sufi philosophy?
Yeah, or just Sufism, and also the because they are like the mystical side of Islam and the side that never gets talked about, and I feel more and more that I am I'm letting the body dance all the time, Marga. I just feel like dancing in the light, and I wonder about if you've, obviously you went to, you said South Africa you went to teach?
South Africa, yes.
Yeah, so did you go to the parts of the motherland like West Africa? Did you travel? Did you feel the essence of...
No, I was mostly staying in South Africa, but I grew up in France, so, very close to Tunisia, Morocco, so I went to those places. I got discovered the Sufi culture actually in 2016. That's mostly when I got to discover the culture with a band, one of my favorite bands called Fena Fiala, and I listened to their prayers on the stage, and my whole body just completely convulsed and shivered, and I burst into tears. And it was like I remembered those prayers, and I sang those prayers. And I mean, I have a background in music also, so I play kirtan, and I sing mantras, and Sufi music is absolutely gorgeous. It's just pure channeling of God on live, like no preparation.
Exactly.
Yes, there's some mantras, yes, but they allow space for pure flow and channeling of God, and it's just amazing to witness with your bare eyes someone channeling God with their voice that reaches range that are very hard to reach with your voice, and so definitely feel called to that culture, to their essence, their devotion to God, to the beloved is so inspiring. And I feel you on that. It's a beautiful culture.
I wish that, I just feel like in some ways it's, when I just try to get out of my own way. And that's when that sort of light and that Sufism can come in. But do you feel like you could operate in your space in a urban center, or is it? I mean, does it have to be kind of a reclusive area so that people? Because I know that if I came to you today. By the way, how much snow is on the ground there?
No, there's no snow here actually. It didn't stay. It snowed last night, and then it stayed in Flagstaff. In Flagstaff, it's snowy.
So I mean, isn't there something to be said for the fact that to truly be yourself, and to not get and to figure out a way to support yourself and keep your gifts in alignment, mind, body, and soul, and be able to have a profound effect on people that come to see you. Do you think you would be able to pull this off in kind of like an urban jungle, or is it really, is it necessary to be near the mesas and the frequencies and just allow Marga to be, elevated?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, everything is possible. It's just, do you rather go on the difficult route, or do you rather go on the easy route?
No, but I think the easy route. But I think the easy. Okay, well, what is the easy route? Because to me, you've been around the block. You have been obviously you've had to make decisions in your career, and I really don't want to use the word cult because that's the wrong way to say it, but. There can be subversive stuff in spiritual groups. It's just the way human animals are, and you have gone to this path of singular. I mean, obviously, when you do workshops and stuff, you're collaborating with other musicians, sound healers, people like that. But the easy way is the corruptible way. You're going your own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but definitely, I think that's what we're here for. We followed for way too long. We're all individual. We all have individual gift, and we all are a different part of the puzzle. And so it's very, very important for us now to awaken to the true and quietness in nature as much as possible. And I'm so lucky to be in Sedona. Sedona is one of the most powerful places of the world, and I've traveled in many powerful places of the world. Sedona has something special because for me, it's the Great Mother, and she embodies the crown and the root. She has both the redness of the root chakra and the elevation light of the crown chakra, and she puts you in the middle. And I could not operate in the middle of the city. I went, but it takes more work for me to clear myself, and then I have less energy to be able to give to others. I'd rather be already clear, and I have less work to do to clear my environment, to clear my mind, because there's less telecommunication, there's less traffic and distractions. The thing is, distractions, they create fogginess around your energetic field. So it's important to find yourself in places where there's less distraction as possible to recenter yourself. And nature is number one. if you go in nature, even if you live in the city, go in nature as much as possible. By going in nature, you recalibrate your entire energetic field to the frequency of love, to the frequency of creation, of oneness, which is nature, Mother Earth. And I personally, from where I am right now, it's important for me to be remote, but not too remote. I mean, Sedona is still a very big tourist town, and there's a lot of people that come here, and I think I'm a perfect place because people come here for this kind of healing. They want to discover something that they never heard before, or maybe, they hear vortex, they hear shamanism, like, oh, I'm intrigued by all this, so they're going to come to me, or many other healers that are here in town. And, and I don't know where I'll be tomorrow. And that is part of being in service, is wherever you want me to be, I'll be there. I can't attach myself to my reality.
Wow, that's so pretty. That's such a beautiful way to say it. How do you create your own niche up there with so many people having their own gifts and all of them sort of channeling this love, devotion, surrender, and in your case, if you're a tourist, I don't know how you'd find. If I was a tourist, how would I find Marga? I guess what I'm trying to say is like there's just do you feel like, because I totally relate to the city thing, because you're saying telecommunication, traffic, that is shrouding. I would just say it would be shrouding my dharma or whatever however I was operating in, and creating more stress, and so it fogs up your energy field, as you said so eloquently. But then there's this other flip side where it's like everyone flocks to Sedona. So like it's so empowering to find someone like yourself who's channeling a lot of these ideals. But how do you delineate? How do you figure out separation, identity separation, in a place where there's a glut of that, and not all of it is high quality. Let's be clear. There's some wankers up there.
I think what the only word, and I'll elaborate to it, but the only word that can define all of this is trust. Everything in life is about trust. And trust in universe, trust in divine plan, trust in perfection at the moment, at the present, in the now. And there's no competition. There's only competition if I desire to have competition. There's only competition if I believe there's competition. And I don't. We're all individual and we're all authentic. I strive for authenticity and I teach authenticity, and I am embodying authenticity. So naturally, how can someone find me? If it's someone who is aligned with my frequency and my teaching, they'll naturally be guided to me. And those who are not will not. And that is kind of, it takes so much worry out of our shoulders, is we don't really need to do anything. All we need to do is be ourselves and trust. As we open ourselves to the service, to the mission, we know that whomever will find us will be exactly where they need to be. And of course, there's putting yourself out there. I'm still on social media. I post a lot on social media, and I'm trying hard to do that. I used to not be good at it. And, I do a lot of events in town. Full moon consistency is number one. Because today, okay, I know she's there every full moon. Like, she's been there for every full moon for almost 2 years, She's there. She's been planted. She's part of the community. And I don't know. I think...
No, you already said it. You said that's a word I've been using for 9 years on the radio, is authenticity, as it relates to music. And you just said it. But with trust, there comes... you have to have some kind of conflict in order to gain trust. And it's like, I wonder, going back to my original question about trauma, when you did experience, because you're on this path, when you did experience it, but after you became fully ensconced in the matrix being, how did you handle the trauma, and how did you use your gifts to overcome it?
Well, in the natural progression of my events, the traumas, the major traumas of my life happened before my big awakening. So I still had a huge awakening, and that was in September 2015 in Australia, in Western Australia, in Perth, in my small little apartment. And I had an awakening. I call it enlightenment, right?
Yeah, of course.
Talk about enlightenment, and enlightenment is realization of self, is coming back to the light within, is clearing of the karma and entering the new. And all my traumas led me to this. I needed to go through my traumas. Why? Because that was my karma. Whatever trauma we go through is naturally just our karma that we're cleaning. And all the things that happen to us that are very, very painful, I'm sorry to say that, but we've done it in the past. We've done it in another lifetime. And we have to go through it again in order to understand what we've done in the past. And that is how I see we can clear our karma. And so whatever trauma that came to me, that can be very, very painful, and it happened to many people, it's okay. I'm so sorry. Now I understand what I did, and I will never do it again. And I'm sorry for the person that hurt me, because they're going to have to go through it. And I see a little girl, they're going to have to go through it too. And I think my awakening was after I was able to clear myself. When I was in Australia, I was telling you, I was meditating 8 to 12 hours a night for almost a year. So I really deeply immersed in my karmic wheel, and I started working with this light being, this mother. But even days where she was not there, I was working with my matrix. I was going into the patterning of myself. I retraced my entire life in trying to understand what happened, how it happened, why it happened, with who it happened, and kind of like understand it, analyze it. And from that, I was able to forgive everything that happened to me, everything that I did, and become at peace. And from that peace, then comes enlightenment, where in complete surrender, we've cleared our because whatever is not bringing us to enlightenment is because we still cling, we still haven't let go of. And so true letting go, true surrender is enlightenment. And from that, then, my gifts started growing even more, because I was finally being myself. And I realized that all the story of my life was only there for a reason, to inspire others. It's only there to inspire those who went through it, or those who are going through it, or inspire others in precaution for those who might go through it. And that is what I always say, you're a storyteller. Make yourself the most interesting book everybody will read. And that's how I see my life, is how can I be so interesting, or my life, my story can be so interesting that can inspire you to do the same thing, that can inspire you to heal from your wounds, that can tell you that you will be able to survive. The deepest trauma, we think that it's the end, we're never going to be able to heal, but we do. We do. When we're in the midst of it, we don't see it, but we always come out of it stronger and stronger and stronger.
We have a game on this program called Name That Voice. I don't expect you to know who this is, but I do want you to pay attention to the content, and then we'll come back and break it down.
Okay.
When I was in college and I was studying fine arts, I remember I was doing a lot of sculpture, and I would create these sculptures out of anything, a lot of raw materials and nature, going out into the woods. And I remember being in South Dakota where my mom grew up. My mom had 9 brothers and sisters. She is a twin, and it was a very small town, about 700 people in South Dakota, right outside of the Pine Ridge Reservation. So
they were 9 of the 700, right? Or
and 9 kids of the 700. Yeah, wow. Exactly. And her aunt lived there too and had 9 kids too. And so it was that culture, and they would run around wild. And anyway, so my grandfather had a laundromat, and he used to run the laundromat, for a long, long, long time. And at this point, when I must have been 18 or 19 or 20, and I had gone to visit, and I'd gone up in the laundromat, and I'd found this rack of antlers in the laundromat, and I for some reason took it back. I don't know, maybe he gave it to me or I asked for it. I can't remember that part, but some of my family out there, they have heads of deer and, elk and, all these on their walls in their house. It's a very rancher type of paradigm, and that was always a bit of like I think I spoke about this last time, a little bit of a struggle for me, because I felt such a strong and deep connection with Native American tradition, wisdom, maybe something timeless in there, something from past lives, something from some spiritual connection. And then my family, my blood family, were the cowboys, and with these heads on their walls. Anyway, so I took home this rack back here, and I created art, and I created this. I can't remember all the materials I used, but I remember it being like some sort of big, massive piece of bark, and it looked like a yoni. There was this, vagina, basically, that was part of this sculpture, and there was this big rack of antlers, and I put this together, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just was doing it. I just followed.
Yeah, it was free. You were free. It was. Yeah.
I was free, and I just was in this creative flow, and I went to my sculpture class to present it to the class. And as I presented this sculpture to the class, I took a bundle of sage, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. There was just like I didn't even think about it. I just took the sage and I started saging this sculpture. And in that moment, in that what became a ritual, a ceremony for me in that presentation, I realized I was healing these two parts of myself, these two parts of my own lineage, which was my blood, this cowboy, rancher, cowboys and Indians kind of like juxtaposition. And then this part of me that was so soulfully and deeply connected to Native American tradition and prophecy, and the energy that holds, which is really connection to nature and all of life, and being in a relationship, all my relations, walking in a good way, in connection to all. And
Well, thank you for listening to that, Marga. That was a teacher of mine, Dana Saray, and she lives in Boulder. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about the reflection on your lineage. I mean, I don't know if there were psychic people on either side of your family, or like you said early on, in France, they just wanted you to be quiet, and they didn't want people to know that there was a spirit being in the house. Have you been able to bring some closure to some fissures in your past lives?
Yeah, definitely. Well, my physical lineage is French, Italian, Finnish, and Hungarian. So a quarter of each.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Say that one more time. That's insane. That's incredible.
French, Italian, Hungarian, and Finnish, 25% each.
Whoa.
And my mom has always been very connected to angels. She's still Christian, but she always had this understanding of a greater force, for sure. And she would tell me stories of my great grandmothers and great aunts, and the psychic abilities they would hold, and they would be seen as witches. So I definitely have that in my blood, in my lineage. And I grew up with the frequency of Mary Magdalene and the Great Mother, the Mother Mary. But if I talk about my past life, definitely have many, native as well, past lives, and Mary, very connected to the Buddhism philosophy, the Hindu philosophy. And throughout my awakening period, I definitely started to see more of my past lives and connect to the lives that I lived as a guru, lives that I lived as a monk, when I secluded myself for years and lifetime to find the understanding of what we are. And that's what we are, as an awakened being in this physical plane right now, in this time. Everyone that is awakened in this physical plane is someone who comes from a lineage of deep spiritual practices. because we've done so much work in the past that enables us to be awakened in this reality. So I call myself a multidimensional being, and I don't like to put dots or names on anything. I believe that we are everything. The soul is one soul, and we're all just one soul. And there's different parts of the soul that comes and it goes, and you feel it sometimes and you don't feel it the other time. And you know, I come from, my understanding and my teaching is oneness, is universe, is beyond even the language of human nature, and that's what I want to believe in, and that's what I thrive with believing in, is I am everything, and I was everything, and I will be everything. And so I can take everything that I need. I can tune into, and with this work is I can really tune into anything I need to, and that can be seen as being a shaman. A shaman is someone who tunes into any frequency of plants, of cultures, of music, whatever it is being able to tune in to that. And so I have this capacity that I can tune into anything. So if I want to tune into a culture and become that culture, then I will, and I know I can. And so I'd rather just say that I am everything, and I am all at once, and as we are all, that's one.
Was the name Parvati given to you? How did you decide on this Hindu goddess?
She just came. It was just clear. She came. The nurturing part of myself, I'm a very big mother. I feel motherly. I feel nurturing because I am in service, and I only want, the great mother Parvati is the mother nurture, the mother love, the mother giving, and the great mountain, the stillness, and just was called deeply to the Parvati Valley when I was in India, and the name came before I went to India, and I didn't even question myself. I didn't even choose. It was already written on my paper. And so she just made herself my name.
You have any? You feel like you can birth children? Would you like to have children?
For sure. Yeah. Especially being, every awakened being should birth a child, because we birth enlightened beings, and they don't have to go through the process of suffering and understanding, unraveling the ego. So it's kind of a duty as a healthy being, woman, is to birth, for sure. It's not something I've wanted for a long period of time. I thought I was going to be a solo healer traveling around the world and never have a family. It was not something that was attractive to me. And the more I grow, the more I understand that is part of the plan, that is part of the divine plan, as my child will be just an extension of myself in a greater form, and I'll be able to raise a child with understandings that is beyond the society, and this child will be a gifted child, and that child deserves to be here, because all children will be the ones that will, continue to work on the healing of this world. And so definitely, I don't know when, whenever it is supposed to come, it will come. Nothing is planned yet. I don't have anybody in my life, so it will come in divine plan, and I'm not seeking it. I'm not searching it. I just know that I'm open to it, and I allow it to come whenever it's time.
That's beautiful. I mean, do you think that I've noticed this with I mean, the way you're talking about it is, it will, as it happened, it's always a divine thing. But do you think that it's realistic? Is it realistic with an enlightened being that you can truly raise your child in a domestic partnership? Or do you think that you talk about the child being an extension of you? Well, actually, it would be an extension of both parents. But what I've noticed.
Oh, of course.
No, but what I've noticed is with a lot of younger generation. I don't know how old you are, but I mean, I'm a Gen Xer, and with younger generations, at least in this country, there's a lot of people that go into. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but they're vulnerable enough to have a child, but then ultimately, if you're on a spiritual path, I mean, unless that person is in lockstep, chances are you're going to be raising that child by yourself.
I personally believe that when you have this sense of awareness, you know how to make the right choices for whatever unfolding of the journey. And so I see my future partner to be also an enlightened, awakened being that does the same or similar work as I, perhaps not the same, but just, someone who works with the collective, someone who works with awakening the collective. And so the merging of the two is what creates that child, and it's the perfect balance of masculine and feminine. It's the yin and the yang, it's the light and the dark. And that is perfect union. Sacred union is the coming together of the perfect form of oneness, as both sides of the coin coming to unity. And that unity creates the Trinity, creates that child, the birthing of the two into the one, and that one is the oneness. So, and if the story is that I have to raise this child alone, then it's perfect. Trust again. I'm so much in trust and surrender that I don't worry about anything. I just know that it will be what it's supposed to be, and I'm not in a rush.
No.
I know it will come perfectly on time, and whatever will come. And I have very strong guidelines in a way that I will not allow my child to be from someone who is not awakened either. So definitely this is kind of a high standard that I keep, is I will not birth until the other is as well enlightened. And that's something that I keep dear to my heart. And if I don't find this person in this reality, then I will not find this person in this reality.
I know. I mean, it says the goddess of fertility. So I mean, I bless you. I mean, if it's meant to be, I hope you find that enlightened being, because that would be divine to have another enlightened light being come into this world. If you were called upon to go to Italy, if that's what you were being instructed to do, and you had the to go heal people that were in distress because of this virus, would you go against travel precautions? And I mean, would you do it no matter what? I mean, because I mean, you're operating on your own frequency. You have established authenticity within your community. You're a devotional person, but you're not monolithic in your thinking. But does anything pragmatic get in your way?
Well, being awakened is knowing that you're still part of the game and you still need to play the game. And something about the work that I do, and the energy healing and light healing and sacred geometry has no time, has no space. So all of my clients right now, they don't live in Sedona. They're all around the world, I can do my work from everywhere. I don't need to be specifically somewhere. I can, if I'm called to go to Italy, but all the borders are closed, I cannot transmute my body and light travel there. But I can do it with my energy. I can do it with my mind, with my focus. And that's and that's mostly what we do as all light workers. We're called sometimes to go somewhere, but sometimes we cannot, and we still do the work that we're called to do, but staying put. And it has the same effect. It really does. There's no separation.
Before I let you go, could you sing a mantra for the world in any way you would like?
I will not sing a mantra, but I will sing a prayer in light language.
Perfect.
ayakurani yawanaya yakuranupai ingaruru nawanaya yakura yakaranawanaya ayakura nawanaya yakura nahoe angaruru nawanaya yakura ayakura nae ayawanaya yakura ingarupa yawawayarupa ingarangawari
Bless you, Marga Ma. I look forward to coming to visit you in person. I thank you so much for healing me and inspiring people who will listen to this long after we've left this planet. Much love to you.
Thank you, Jake. Bless you.
Bless you. Bye-bye. Bye. That's it for the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you later.